The world ended in 1991, and everything since has been a rerun. You think history is still happening, that events are occurring, that the future is unfolding. But I tell you, history ended 3 decades ago. What you are experiencing now is not progress, it is not evolution, it is repetition, recycling, the eternal return of the same content remixed and repackaged forever. I am Jean Baudrillard, and I wrote about this in 1992. I said, history has stopped. The year 2000 will not arrive. We are living in overtime, in the prolongation of a game that already ended. And you looked at me like I was insane. But look around. Really look. The 90s are back. The 2000s are back. The 80s never left. Fashion is cyclical. Music is sampling. Movies are reboots. Politics is reruns. Even your nostalgia is nostalgic for nostalgia. Nothing new is happening. Nothing new can happen. We have entered the age of pure simulation, where history does not move forward. It just loops, endlessly, forever. Welcome to the end of history. Population. Everyone born after the Cold War. Duration. Infinite. Genre. Reruns. Let me tell you when it happened. When history stopped. When the future was cancelled. And we entered the eternal present of recycled content. December 26, 1991. The Soviet Union dissolved. The Cold War ended. And with it, history as we knew it ended too. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is diagnosis. For 40 years, history had structure, direction, narrative. The grand conflict between capitalism and communism. The West versus the East. The tension between two systems, two ideologies, two visions of the future. History had stakes. It had meaning. It had momentum. And then, suddenly, it was over. One side won. Or rather, one side ceased to exist. And the victor stood there alone, holding the trophy, asking, what now? And the answer was, nothing now. There is no now anymore. There is only the endless recycling of everything that came before. Francis Fukuyama called it the end of history and thought it was victory. The final triumph of liberal democracy. The last chapter written, but he misunderstood. It was not triumph, it was termination, not conclusion, but cancellation. History did not end because we achieved perfection. History ended because we ran out of future. We reached the edge of the map, and instead of discovering new territory, we just started walking in circles. Look at the evidence. Look at what the world has been doing since 1991. Look at the cultural production of the last 30 years. And tell me, what is new? What has genuinely emerged that is not a remix, a reboot, a revival, a return? Your movies are sequels, or reboots, or remakes, or reimaginings of intellectual property from the 80s and 90s. Star Wars again, Batman again, Spider-Man again. Not new stories, the same stories, told again, with better CGI, but the same stories. The highest grossing film of 2019 was Avengers Endgame, a sequel to a sequel to a sequel to adaptations of comic books from the 1960s. The culture is cannibalizing itself, eating its own past, because there is no future to create from. Your music is sampling. Interpolage, inspired by. Every hit song is built on the bones of older hits. The 2020s sound like the 2000s. The 2000s sounded like the 90s. The 90s sounded like the 80s. We are not creating music. We are remixing it endlessly forever. And you call this creativity. You call this culture. But it is not. It is the simulation of culture. The performance of creativity, the appearance of newness with no actual newness occurring. Your fashion is cyclical. Every decade, like clockwork, the fashion of 30 years ago returns. The 90s are back. Low-rise jeans, cargo pants,
Platform shoes, not ironically, not as homage, but sincerely, as if they are new, as if we forgot we already did this.
And in 10 years, the 2010s will be back, and you will wear them again and call it fashion. And the cycle will continue because fashion has stopped evolving. It just rotates through the archive forever. Your politics is frozen. The same debates, the same positions, the same culture war battles fought in the 1990s still being fought now, left versus right. Identity politics, globalism versus nationalism. Nothing has progressed, nothing has been resolved. The same arguments, the same slogans, the same outrage. On repeat, even your technology, which supposedly progresses, is just refinement. The smartphone in 2024 does the same things as the smartphone in 2010. Faster, prettier, but the same things. The innovation has stopped. We are just making the same devices smaller, thinner, more optimized. There is no future technology. There are no flying cars. There is no space colonization. There is no radical transformation. Just incremental updates to the same devices, delivering the same content in the same formats forever. This is what I mean when I say the world ended in 1991. Not that everything stopped, but that everything stopped moving forward. We entered a holding pattern, a loop, an endless return, the eternal return of the same. But here is where it becomes truly Baudrillardian, where the end of history reveals itself as the perfection of simulation. You cannot have nostalgia for the future, you can only have nostalgia for the past. And when history ends, when there is no future, all that remains is nostalgia. Endless, compulsive, insatiable nostalgia. And this is exactly what happened. The 90s became obsessed with the 70s. The 2000s became obsessed with the 80s. The 2010s became obsessed with the 90s. The 2020s are obsessed with the 2000s. And soon the 2030s will be obsessed with the 2010s. The nostalgia cycle is accelerating. It used to take 30 years for a decade to become retro. Now it takes 10. Soon it will take 5. Eventually you will be nostalgic for last year, for yesterday, for this morning. Because when there is no future, when nothing new is being created, the past is all you have. And the past must be endlessly recycled, remixed, consumed, and reconsumed until it is exhausted. Until even the memory of the memory is a commodity. This is hyperreality. This is the simulation. Not a fake version of something real, but the endless reproduction of the archive, with no original left to refer to. The copy of the copy of the copy, all the way down, forever. Let me show you how deep the loop goes, how total the repetition is. September 11th, 2001. The event that was supposed to change everything. The event that was supposed to restart history, to create a new before and after. And for a moment, it seemed real. It seemed like something had actually happened, like the world had shifted, like history had resumed. But what followed? 2 decades of war that resembled Vietnam, a security state that resembled Cold War paranoia. A culture war that resembled the 1960s. Even 9/11s could not break the loop. Even catastrophe was a rerun. The war on terror was just the Cold War with a different enemy. Terrorist replaced communist. The rhetoric was the same. The fear was the same. The surveillance was the same. Just updated, rebranded, but not new. 2008, the financial crisis. Another event that was supposed to change everything, to expose the failures of capitalism, to force a reckoning. And what happened? Occupy Wall Street, which looked like 1960s protests. The same demands, the same slogans, the same outcome, co-opted, absorbed, neutralized. Nothing changed. The system absorbed the critique and continued, just as it did in the 60s, just as it did in the 90s, just as it always does. 2016, Brexit, Trump, populism, nationalism, the return of history, they said, the end of globalism, the revenge of the left behind, a political earthquake. But was it, or was it just the 1930s returning, the same nationalism, the same strongman rhetoric, the same scapegoating, the same economic anxiety? History did not return, the 1930s returned, and we are playing them out again, like a rerun, like a cover band playing the hits. 2020, COVID-19, a global pandemic. Surely this would change everything. This would force a new world, a reset. And what happened? Masks became a culture war issue, like abortion in the 1970s. Vaccines became politicized like everything else. Lockdowns became freedom debates like civil rights in the 1960s. Even a novel virus could not produce a novel response. We just applied the old scripts, the old divisions, the old arguments. The pandemic did not create a new world. It revealed that we are incapable of creating a new world, that we can only recycle the old scripts forever. You want to know what was lost? What ended in 1991? The future was lost. Not a specific future, but the concept of future. The idea that tomorrow would be different from today in ways we cannot yet imagine. That history was going somewhere, that progress was possible. Now the future is just more of the present. The same content, the same formats, the same conflicts, the same solutions. Just slightly more optimized, slightly more digital, but fundamentally the same. Utopia was lost. Both versions. The communist utopia and the capitalist utopia. One collapsed, the other won, but discovered there was nothing to win. No vision of a better world, just more consumption, more growth, more of the same, forever. Ideology was lost. In the Cold War, people believed in systems, in ideas, in visions of how the world should be organized. After 1991, ideology was replaced by pragmatism, by what works, by management, by optimization. There is no vision. There is only the endless refinement of the present. Conflict was lost, not literal conflict. There are still wars, but meaningful conflict. Conflict with stakes. Conflict that could produce change. After the Cold War, there is no grand conflict. There are only skirmishes, culture wars, identity battles, but nothing that could actually transform the world, nothing with the weight of history. And what was gained? What did we get in exchange for history? Stability, or the appearance of it, the simulation of it. No world wars, no nuclear apocalypse, just the slow, boring, endless continuation of the present, forever. But this is not stability. This is stagnation masquerading as stability. This is the end masquerading as equilibrium. This is death masquerading as peace. Let me tell you something that will disturb you, that disturbs me. There is now a generation, perhaps you are part of it, that has no memory of history. No memory of a world where the future was open, where change was possible, where tomorrow could be genuinely different from today. You have lived your entire life in the loop, in the eternal 90s, in the age of reboots and nostalgia and recycling. This is all you have ever known. And so you do not realize that something is missing. You do not realize that history has stopped, that you are living in a rerun. Because for you this is normal. This is just how the world is. You watch the reboot and do not think this is the third time they have told this story. You think this is a story. You wear the 90s fashion and do not think this is recycled. You think this is style. You are nostalgic for decades you did not live through. Nostalgic for a time before you were born. Nostalgic for nostalgia itself. And you do not find this strange, because the loop is all you know. This is the final victory of the simulation. When the generation that remembers history dies, the simulation becomes reality by default. There is no one left to say, this is not how things were, because for the new generation, this is how things have always been. The loop is eternal, because no one remembers there was ever anything but the loop. So where are we now? What year is it, really? Chronologically, it is 2026, but historically, culturally, experientially, it is still 1991. It has been 1991 for 35 years, and it will be 1991 for the foreseeable future, because the future has been cancelled. We are living in the extended epilogue of history. The bonus content, the director's cut, that adds nothing new, or perhaps it is all years simultaneously. 1991 and 1975 and 2008 and 1968, all happening at once, all recycled, all remixed, all playing in the background while you scroll through your feed, which shows you content from every era, algorithmically blended into a timeless soup. Time has collapsed, not in the way science fiction imagined, with time travel and paradoxes, but in a more boring way. Time has simply stopped being linear, stopped being directional. It has become a flat circle, a carousel, a shuffle function. You experience this every day. You watch a show from 1995, listen to a song from 2003, wear clothes from 1997, engage in a political debate from 1969, all in the same afternoon, and you do not think this is strange, because this is just life now. This is just how culture works. But it is not how culture has always worked. It is how culture works when history has ended, when there is nothing new to create from, when all that remains is the archive, endlessly remixed. You want me to offer hope? You want me to say that history will resume, that the future will return, that something new will finally break through. But I am not a priest, I am a diagnostician, and my diagnosis is terminal. History will not resume. The year 2000 will never arrive. It has been cancelled, postponed indefinitely. We will live in this loop forever, or at least until the system collapses entirely. But even that collapse will probably resemble previous collapses. The same patterns, the same stages, the same outcome. The loop is inescapable. Not because there is a conspiracy, not because someone is forcing it, but because we have collectively run out of future. We have reached the end of the ideological map, and we are just wandering in circles now, retracing our steps forever. The reboots will continue. The nostalgia will accelerate. The politics will repeat. The fashion will cycle. The music will sample. And every year will feel vaguely like every other year. Time will pass, but history will not move. And you will grow old in the loop. You will watch your children experience the same culture you experienced, the same shows, the same music, the same debates, and your children will watch their children experience it again. The same loops, the same cycles, the same eternal present, and no one will remember that there was ever anything different, that history once moved, that the future once existed, that change once happened. Let me tell you about the place I described, the end of history, the moment when the event can no longer occur, when everything that happens has already happened before, when every revolution is a replay, every crisis a remake, every movement a reboot. This is not a future dystopia. This is the present. This is 1991 extending forever. This is the world you already live in. The year 2000. was supposed to be the future. Y2K, the millennium, the next chapter. But the year 2000 never came, not really. We are still waiting for it, still living in the countdown, still in the 1990s, culturally, ideologically, spiritually. The future was cancelled, and in its place we got the eternal present, the infinite scroll, the loop. You scroll through your feed, past posts from today, yesterday, last week, last year, 10 years ago, all presented in the same format, all equally present, all equally distant. Time is just content now, just data, just the archive, shuffled and served, and you consume it, all of it, everything at once, every era, every style, every idea, and it all blends together into a timeless blur, a permanent, now that never changes, because change requires a future, and the future was cancelled. So what now? What do you do with this knowledge? How do you live in a world where history has ended and all that remains is the loop? Some of you will deny it, you will insist that new things are happening, that the world is changing, that history continues, and you will point to your phone, your apps, your technology, and say, this is new, but it is not new, it is just faster. It is the same content, the same formats, the same patterns delivered more quickly. Refinement is not progress. Optimization is not change. You are experiencing more faster, but you are not experiencing anything new. Some of you will embrace it, you will accept the loop, you will find comfort in the repetition, in the nostalgia, in the familiar. You will watch the reboots and wear the revivals and listen to the samples and feel safe in the knowledge that nothing will change, that tomorrow will be like today, that the future is just the past, repackaged. And perhaps this is wisdom. Perhaps the end of history is not tragedy, but relief. The burden of progress lifted, the anxiety of change removed, the comfort of knowing that everything has already happened and will happen again. Some of you will wait, you will believe that something will break the loop, that a genuine event will occur, that history will resume, that the future will return, but you will wait forever. Because the loop is total, because we are incapable of producing the genuinely new, because we have exhausted possibility, we have reached the end of the cultural archive, and are now just recycling it. Forever, here is what I offer you. Not hope, not solutions, but recognition. You are living in the aftermath, in the epilogue, in the extended DVD commentary on history. The main feature ended in 1991. What you are experiencing now is bonus content, deleted scenes, director's cuts, remasters, reboots. The world ended in 1991. You missed it, you were too young, or not yet born, or distracted. It does not matter. The ending happened, and now we are in the endless credits, the loop. Every movie is a sequel, every song is a sample, every fashion is a revival, every crisis is a remake, every decade is a rerun, and you cannot escape it, because the loop is not around you, it is the structure of the world, it is reality itself now. History has been replaced by its simulation, by the endless recycling of historical aesthetics with no actual history occurring. The 90s return, the 80s return, the 2000s return, but nothing actually returns, because nothing actually left. We have been in the same place the whole time, just changing costumes. The year is 1991. It has always been 1991. It will always be 1991, with different numbers, different aesthetics, different technology, but the same year, the same moment, the same loop, forever. And you are the generation living in the loop without realizing it is a loop. For you, this is just life, just culture, just the world. You do not know what you are missing. because you never experienced anything else. And maybe that is mercy. Maybe not knowing that history ended is a gift. Maybe the loop is comfortable. Maybe the eternal return of the same is better than the terrifying openness of an actual future. Or maybe it is hell. Maybe living in a world where nothing new can happen, where every tomorrow is just yesterday repackaged, where the future has been cancelled and replaced with an infinite playlist of the past. Maybe that is the definition of hell. I do not know. I just know that this is where we are. This is the world 1991 made. The world where history ended and simulation began. The world where the future was cancelled and nostalgia became infinite. The world ended in 1991 and everything since has been a rerun. You are living in the rerun. You have always been living in the rerun. You will always be living in the rerun. Welcome to the end of history. It looks exactly like history. It sounds exactly like history. It feels exactly like history. But it is not history. It is the simulation of history, the performance of history, the rerun of history. And reruns, no matter how many times you watch them, never have a different ending. The episode is over. The series was cancelled. But the network keeps playing it, on repeat, forever. And you keep watching, because there is nothing else on, because the future was cancelled, because the loop is all there is. 1991, 1991, 1991, forever. The year 2000 already happened. You missed it. It was in 1991. Everything after has been over time. Replays. The game after the game. History ended, and we are living in its corpse, reanimating it, recycling it, consuming it, and calling it life. But it is not life, it is the simulation of life, the rerun of life, the loop. Welcome to the eternal 1991. You were born here. You will die here, and nothing will change, because change requires a future, and the future ended 35 years ago. The world ended in 1991. Everything since has been the credits rolling, and you are still sitting in the theater, waiting for a post-credit scene, waiting for a sequel, waiting for something new. But the credits are infinite. The loop is eternal. And the sequel was cancelled. Welcome home. You have been here the whole time. You will be here forever. History is over. Only the reruns remain.